felt very much at home in India right from the start. And people say to me, "Oh, how could you go to India? There's so much poverty and this and that." This is many years ago, and it's still there today, but things are better that way. I'm talking about 1984. I took my first trip, and I got there, and I felt at home. It was a very strange experience. I felt very much at home, and culturally, and the behavior, and everything. And then uh, I spent the initial days at the Theosophical Society at Adyar, just outside Chennai or Madras at the time, and then went to Rishikesh area and spent a lot of time with Prem Varni and other yogis in that area, as you know, is a very special holy part of the Ganges River. And just being imbued in that atmosphere of reverence for the mystery and the spirituality and attitude of most of the people I met was spiritually life-giving. I felt good about it. And then I remember spending several weeks in the ashram, and my only duties were you sort the beans out, make sure there are no rocks in them, doing simple things like that. And it really slowed down my mind because I tend to be a type A active person. And the Buddha put it very well. He says, have faith in the Dharma, the teachers, have faith in me, and have faith in your Sangha, your spiritual fellow travelers. And that's very important. And I'm very appreciative that I have friends that are spiritually oriented, philosophically oriented, and scientifically oriented. Keeps me open to all of these dimensions because all of that feeds and helps my own development. And India was a significant thing. And as after going there so many times, I figure I spent about 2 or 3 years of my life in India with all those individual trips. I felt a sense at home. I can talk about India, and I remember doing a pilgrimage to the source of the Ganges, and I'm blocking on the name now. Anyway, the last town on the road, and then you walk 3 miles to the Gamuk Glacier, the source of the Ganges.
Kedarnath and Badrinath you're talking about?
As I've been to Badrinath, we drove to that. In Kedarnath, I didn't go to, what's the other one?
Kailash.
Anyway.
Kailash. Mount Kailash?
No. I got a block. Anyway, the XYZ. Okay. That's where you go to the end of the road, and then you walk up to, and it was really, and then I was with a spiritual American friend of mine, and we wrote down all the things we needed to discard in our life, and we wrote it down, and then we put a match to them and put them in the river. The beginning of the glacier flow. It was just a stream at that time. And it was a wonderful thing. We spent overnight at the rest house there, which was ice cold. and then we came back. That's a wonderful way to spiritually visit India. You go to that place first and then follow the river all the way through Rishikesh and go to Varanasi and then down to Calcutta. Just that would be quite a journey. I have no interest in the big city activities in India. They're just like the other big cities, crowded, traffic, pollution. I head out of town as soon as possible.
That's interesting. I would like to state one of the Osho's statement about India and take your comments on that. Osho, Rajneesh.
Osho.
So he made a statement about India, and I would like to state that and take your impressions on that. He said, India is a spiritual womb, and the development can happen in China and flowering in Japan in one side, like Zen happened. And similarly, the development can also happen from India to UK because that's giving stability, and flowering happens in America. So he said, India is like a spiritual womb. What is your impression on that, Alex?
I think, proportionally speaking, he has a point. He has a point. It's a unique kind of spirituality that permeates. And I think, I'm guessing, I have no data. I just have the impression that the percentage of people in India who accept the mystery or God or what have you in a real way, not in just a membership way, is probably higher than in many other countries, not all other countries. I have no data on this. I mean, this is a sort of like a statistical sociology question, but I have that impression. And of course, a cynic might say, well, that's because there's been so much poverty, people just had to turn to something else. You get into all that kind of discussion. And I have great respect for Osho's intellectual teachings and writings. I remember once I went to the Almora area with a friend of mine, and we took with us his recordings of the teachings of Atisha, the great Buddhist teacher, and who taught about the mind. And for 2 or 3 weeks, we played his recordings and his lectures on that, and they were just beautiful. I was very sorry that so many political and psychological problems developed and his organization fell apart and some very bad people took it over. And he got it. But I have great respect for Osho as an intellectual. He was a professor. He was very smart. He really knew comparative religion and things. And it made me very sad. I spent one day on a trip back from Yellowstone Park. We stopped at his ranch in Northern California, or Oregon rather. And it was too perfect, and I felt a little uncomfortable there. And I remember when he drove down in his car very slowly, and a person was walking behind the car with an automatic weapon because they were worried somebody, and I could see, this is very sad. This is to have that, feel that's necessary. Something bad's going to happen. And within a few months, the whole thing fell apart. And it made me sad because his work, his intellectual and spiritual teachings, in many ways were, I thought, very, very much on target. And so I have this conflict about Osho.
Okay, thank you for saying that. I quoted it because he mentioned something about India as a womb for spirituality. I
drifted away from that. I think he has a very strong point.